Hello everybody, welcome back to It's Current Year for another quick battle ladder replay. This game was actually played in a tournament, in a Legendary Lord tournament hosted by BBB clan, I'm fairly sure. So I'm up against Ayama's Roscoe today. We're on Blue Reach River, and Roscoe's Legendary Lord pick for the tournament was Techless. Mine was Rakarth. So we've got some interesting lists here coming your way. So we'll have a look at the order of Loremasters first in their nice red color scheme. Frontline's pretty stock standard, just spearmen, nothing too over the top going on there. Some Loth and Seaguard behind them, a couple of units of Phoenix Guard in behind them, which you love to see. We've got the Keepers of the Flame, obviously exceptionally high leadership, great combat stats, still kind of middle of the road, or actually pretty poor weapon strength for what you pay for them, but they hold and hold and hold for days. We've got another unit of Phoenix Guard over here. We've got some Dragon Princes in the back and some more Dragon Princes hidden around here in the forest, as well as a couple of units of Illyrian Reavers, and leading the force, as we mentioned, is Techless. Looks like Techless has come in with Sword of Techless, the Bound Fiery Convocation, and the Potion, as well as Net, Enfeebling Foe, and it looks like Flaming Sword. And he's also obviously got his Arcane, Greater Arcane Conduit. So pretty compact list, bit of missile pressure, just spears, some elite sort of anti-large over here, but then a little bit of mobility as well. So pretty cool list. Over for my force, the 1,000 Maws. We've got similarly pretty cheap front line of infantry, Dread Spears and Bleak Swords just dotted along here. So I think 4 Bleak Swords I brought and 3 Dread Spears, or maybe it was 3 and 3. Looks like it might be 3 and 3 there. So we've got a unit of Cold One Knights in behind here. Hiding in the trees, a couple of units of Dark Riders with repeated crossbows. In behind them, we do have the Slanishes Harvesters. I'm playing Dark Elves and I'm not bringing Marathi, so I've got to have a Soul Stealer somehow. But yeah, decent unit here. Soul Stealer on a big blob is never bad. And 2 units of Scourge Runners, likewise, just a good unit on the roster. Down here, in amongst the Spears, it's a really cool color scheme as well. I've never actually looked in this closely. We've got a Sorceress of Beasts who has taken Wyson's Wild Form, Flock of Doom, and Curse of Unra here. I was sort of playing around with the spells a little bit at the end. I didn't think I need Pan's Impenetrable Pelt, and Flock's obviously very spammable, and I had some leftover money, so I thought possibly some extra armor and weapon damage on my hero core, which consists of Rakarth, and obviously I've also got a Feral Manticore, but I thought Wyson's might be worth taking instead of just pumping that money into chevrons. So up here we've got the Beast Lord of Karond Kar himself, Mr. Rakarth. He's taken obviously the Whip of Agony. He's also got his armor for his melee defense and damage resistance, and then just all his buffs. I didn't cut anything. Probably this one is sometimes cuttable because you can't use it on lords or heroes. But yeah, the rest is pretty decent. Makes him. I've been playing around with Rakarth a fair bit recently, and trying to come up with just a few, I guess, sort of slightly more off-meta Dark Elf lists. Getting sort of a bit bored of just bringing Marathi when I play the Dark Elves. And obviously I do play the Dark Elves a lot. They're probably my main faction. So trying to come up with some lists. And I've been playing around with Rakarth a fair bit, so we might see a bit more of him on the channel in the next coming weeks. But as the armies sort of close here, we might just put it on a bit of a fast play. This is a very large map, and I thought if there might be one thing that could trip me up a little bit, it's a couple of bolt throwers and deploying in this rear position. I don't have a lot of long-range firepower here. Obviously, the Scourge Runners can do a bit of a number on the cavalry with 150 range, and I've got some range punched with the Dark Riders with repeated crossbows, but I've taken them off fire at will purposely, but I forgot to take these guys off fire at will, so they've revealed themselves shooting at spearmen, which is not really where we want to use the ammo. And now that they've been revealed, I'm figuring I might as well just get a few volleys into the side here. They're not getting their shield block chance, obviously, but I do not see this little ambush here from the units of Dragon Princes, and I do get a little bit of a sort of surprised by this, but I am going to pull back. I haven't got them on skirmish fire, unfortunately, so I am going to take some decent damage on the charge, but we are rotating around with the Cold One Knights as the infantry line meets here. That's going to be a pretty boring fight, just basic troops against basic troops. In come the Slanishes Harvesters, in comes the Soul Stealer, getting great value on both of these Dragon Princes as they come into the fight. The Cold One Knights are dropping back because I see the Illyrian Reavers coming after my repeated crossbows. I know with the Word of Pain possibly going down on this blob, as well as a spell effect here. Oh no, that's the Net. I thought that might have been a a Curse of Honor here, but I do rotate back here with my Cold One Knights as we see the broken AoE stuff. You know, it's well documented at this stage. My Cold One Knights did rotate out here to try and keep my my skirmish fighters, the repeated crossbowmen, safe, and they've done a good job of that. One unit of the Illyrian Reavers has been pretty much chased off. We're getting some terror outs now with the Feral Manticore. Unfortunately not, I don't know what's happened there, dropping its attack order, but Rakarth has jumped down, and we have pushed off the Demon Princes. Curse of Honor here going down now. Should be probably chasing after them because their stats are debuffed as well as their speed. But we see the Keepers of the Flame are rotating out here, so not getting too invested over here. And I do obviously see the Fiery Convocation going down. I do try and bring these Dread Spears back. It probably clips the Spearmen as much as it does me, but I've got the Overwatch Fire here on this unit of Spears, so I'm not too concerned with how this is going. And likewise, Dread Spears are mucking up the Lothan Sea Guard, forcing the Phoenix Guard to go in. Phoenix Guard won't actually cut through Dread Spears very quickly because if we take a look at their stats, you know, 46 melee attacks reasonably good, but 42 melee defense on the Dread Spears, given the cost of the two units and the fact that 36 weapon strength on Phoenix Guard when they're not fighting large targets is pretty paltry, to be honest, for what you pay for them. So I'm pretty happy with that trade. It's a bit of a wet noodle contest. The Phoenix Guard will win, but they won't win quickly, and that's kind of the point here. Some Illyrian Reavers getting pushed off here by the Slaanesher's Harvesters. I do use the Word of Pain for the melee attack debuff on this unit. I actually thought this was a Dragon Prince unit, so they're going to die pretty quick as the Slaanesher's Harvesters get their counter charge. And the Cold One Knights, unfortunately getting worked down here by the Dragon Princes on the charge. That's actually not as good of an engagement for the Dragon Princes as some might think. So Rakarth and the Manticore now very healthy, so I can fly around. I notice this unit out here is fighting sort of by itself, likewise this unit, so I'm thinking maybe I can get some terror outs, and I kind of want to just use these Slaanesher's Harvesters just to sort of screen out the Dragon Princes and put as much armor piercing damage into the Dragon Princes as we can. As we see, I think all the Slaanesher's Harvesters die. So that unit fought to the death, basically, but we're getting pretty much crippling damage here with the repeated crossbows. And I know once these Dragon Princes are dead, now that the Illyrian Reavers were dealt with, I can get good value with these repeated crossbowmen by shooting the Phoenix Guard. Don't really have anything that wants to fight them in combat. Bleak Swords and Dread Spears, as we mentioned before, will tie them up, as I come in for a bit of a rear charge here on Rakarth to try and maybe get some terror outs and just clear the chaff away from the Phoenix Guard, so that other stuff can sort of just make its way in and be a bit of a nuisance. But we are getting a collapse on these Lothan Sea Guard. Also trying to just bait this Phoenix Guard blob away from this one so they can't fight back to back while the Manticore and Rakarth sort of do their thing. And we've got the Sorceress of Beasts, who hasn't used actually a lot of spells yet. I think that's Curse of Honor here is pretty much all I've cast so far because I've been microing fairly intensively elsewhere. As we see, unfortunately, the Phoenix Guard do get onto our Scourge Runners there. A bit of a sloppy bit of micro. I don't know if they're struggling to pull out of those Sea Guard, but probably just a little bit of sloppy micro. Net goes down on Rakarth, but and Enfeebling Foe, but just given the sort of state of these Dragon Princes, they have lost their martial mastery. We do have shots coming in from the repeated crossbowmen, and now with, I believe this is one of my spells. Yes, it is. Curse of Honor here is going to slow Teclis down and also make the stats pretty much nuked. And Rakarth and Feral Manticore here are sensing their opportunity to probably just about finish the game here with Teclis going off, and lacking support, the Phoenix Guard can be sort of ground down by us at this point. We did see a Fiery Convocation go off there because I think it was probably a bit of a desperation cast, seeing that Teclis was on his deathbed with Manticore and Rakarth coming over here. But half health Rakarth, you know, down to 2k, but pretty healthy Feral Manticore can just pick off the scraps on the periphery. Bleak Swords and Dread Spears will come back in and basically just buy time for these repeated crossbowmen, just to use as much ammo as they can. The Lothan Sea Guard have stabilized themselves, but we are going to get a rear charge onto them in a second, as we see some Flock of Dooms going down, just using whatever Winds of Magic I have left at this point. Manticore does manage to, it does actually rampage, which is no good, but we're going to see a nice little facet of Rakarth going down with the Beast Lord's Gaze, stopping rampage and buffing leadership. Mind you, we don't really want to keep him in there for too long, in and amongst all those Phoenix Guard, but him and Rakarth can basically just take their pick of the scraps from here. We've got some spears and dread spears still fighting out here from the very first engagement. But as we mentioned before, Phoenix Guard, when they're not fighting large, 36 weapon strength is pretty poor. I mean, when you consider that Bleak Swords have... where are our Bleak Swords units? Bleak Swords themselves have 28. The Phoenix Guard just don't cut through this type of chaff quick enough to justify their costs. And we're getting another Flock of Doom going down. Rakarth and the Manticore are just making sure nothing can come back. We're pretty happy that this just... this fight will go on long enough for us to get as much value as we can with our missiles and just keep bringing our scraps back in. And a rear charge from Rakarth here will, even the braveness of the Keepers of the Flame, which have taken a lot of damage and are still sort of holding their leadership, will be broken eventually with two big beasties coming down. Beast Slaver goes down for the anti-large buff there. I did put Whiplash down on the Manticore, and with the Phoenix Guard being broken, the day is won for the 1,000 Maws. So a pretty fun battle. Like I said, this was a pretty casual tournament. It was a... you pick a Legendary Lord and you play them all throughout, and I think this was the first round match. I'm fairly sure this was the first round match. I think I only made it to the third round of this tournament. It was over the weekend. But yeah, it was a good fun battle. Nothing too serious. Although I say that, I mean, outside of Rakarth, this is a fairly meta Dark Elf list. For the High Elves, I was expecting maybe some Bolt Throwers, as I said, because this is a big map, and Bolt Throwers are good sort of Scourge Runner insurance for the High Elves. So I was quite relieved not to see that, not to be having to sort of duke around with my Scourge Runners the whole game. But Teclis was just... seeing it was Order of Loremasters as well in Teclis, I was also expecting Teclis on the bird, which is why I wanted the little hit squad here to go and take him on. He obviously has the nets, so he can sort of separate them potentially, or just stall the fight. And with obviously the Potion of Cheroy and just the resistances from the Arcane Phoenix mount, I was expecting Teclis to be actually quite tough to deal with. Probably would have been a better investment than the Phoenix Guard. But like I said, this was a fun tournament, so we're not sort of reading too much into the builds. But Rakarth did reasonably good work. Manticore did good work. Beastcaster was just a support piece, but some nice Flock of Dooms at the end when we got a little bit blobbed. We didn't use a lot of Winds of Magic. I think I still had sort of 7 or 8 Winds of Magic from memory when the battle ended. But the Bleak Swords and the Dread Spears just did their job. All pretty much all of them near enough to getting their damage value back. I think these two got nuked a little bit by a Fiery Convocation or something. Scourge Runners I managed to misplay a little bit with, but they still got decent value. Slanish's Harvesters did alright. I would have thought they might have got a little bit more than that with the Soul Stealer nabbing both units of Dragon Princes. And even though the Cold War Knights didn't get great value, they did basically have to pull back from both the Dragon Prince units to see off the Illyrian Reavers. And we see here the Reavers, pretty poor value from each. Could have potentially both chased my Dark Riders off with nothing else to screen them. Obviously, you can't run and fire with the Dark Rider crossbow. So yeah, the Cold War Knights sort of contributed to these units getting good value. I mean, 13 or nearly 1,400 on them. Very nice value. But yeah, Dragon Princes did reasonably well. Illyrian Reavers had the right idea, getting on the Dark Riders, but the Cold War Knights obviously stood in the way. Rest of the infantry did okay for the High Elves. Some decent value. They were chevroned up going into the game, but they held the line reasonably well. Loth and Seaguard managed to get some good value, and then the Keepers of the Flame and the Phoenix Guard were just a bit more of a pest to deal with than anything. Didn't have well, they had some good targets, but we just didn't give them really until the very end of the fight. We had enough stuff to basically just keep them fighting chaff infantry. They're never going to get their costs back fighting Dread Spears and Bleak Swords. And obviously, given they aren't shielded, although they do have impressive physical resistances, the crossbows were able to really sort of get good value firing in on them. And Teclis, some decent kills, but again, probably just chaff infantry with the Fiery Convocation. Got ganged up on there by the Manti hit squad. So yeah, fun battle. Thought I'd cast it. It was just quite a casual game. So thanks to Roscoe for the game, and thanks to you guys for checking it out. We'll be back with more soon. Till then, take care.